I was wondering about this with the Orioles just sold, what Mark Cuban did with the Mavs. You had the Broncos, they were sold, the Commanders were sold. And I'm wondering, what do these business owners know that maybe we don't know? Chris Smith, Sports Business Journal staff writer, and he's covering this. He covers sports finance as well as reporting on team sales, other investments throughout the industry, and kind enough to join us on short notice. Chris, is it just a coincidence that these teams are being sold now?
In part, yes. I think we're seeing a bunch of different reasons why these teams are hitting the market. You mentioned the Broncos. There was the Senators up in Ottawa. Those are cases where an owner's died and the heirs are selling the team. In other cases, there's a forced sale, right? Robert Sarver in Phoenix, Dan Snyder in Washington. Those are situations where maybe the owner wouldn't want to sell, but there's pressure that kind of force those transactions. And then, you have some situations where there's an aging owner and maybe you have heirs or children that either can't afford or don't want to continue to own the team. And so they are making transactions before their debts. And that maybe explains some of the other ones we've seen. For instance, you raised Baltimore's the most recent one. So I think a handful of reasons informing some of these transactions.
Are the numbers, the teams, their value bloated? Is it like the housing market?
It depends who you ask. I would say at this point, still, the overwhelming sentiment is no. The sense is that these assets, there are a number of reasons that explain why they are so valuable. Namely that they're recession resilient. So we've seen every time there's been an economic downturn, we saw it during COVID, valuations have not fallen in the way that other assets have. We've also seen that it's not correlated to public markets, which is hard to find. And thirdly, and maybe most importantly, is the scarcity. There are very few of these teams, and they're not really making more of them, except for the occasional expansion round. And so you have some of these really economic justifications that would explain why these teams are worth billions and billions of dollars.